Welcome back, everyone. You know how sometimes a video will pop up in your YouTube feed with some Islamic authority attempting to explain something that's utterly absurd, but you know that watching it will at least be entertaining because it allows a peek inside of the echo chamber where awful answers on morally reprehensible Islamic practices flourish. And of course, beyond simple entertainment, we can always hope that these sorts of videos will break through some cognitive dissonance in the minds of Muslims. So here we go. The question is about how to convince Muslim women that it's okay for Muslim men to have multiple wives. Yeah, it's the polygamy question.
Can you please address the sisters regarding accepting the rule of polygamy? For the protection of husbands, single sisters, and society. Jazakumullahu khayra.
Before you hear his answer, just note that you may notice a general tone of levity, arrogance, and sarcasm throughout. Now, this may just be the Sheikh's attitude in general, or it may be him tapping into the spirit of Islamic apologetics, where difficult issues are handled with outsized bravado to inspire unwarranted confidence in bad answers. Regardless, his answer to the polygamy question is polyvalent. It's multifaceted, consisting of several threads, carefully woven together like the sheets of a polygamous man's bed that hopefully get changed out at some regular interval. Note first, the problem here is really with the women.
Wallahi, ikhwa, is not easy. It's a nightmare. Wallahi, nightmare. Sometimes, it's because fitnat al-mar'a fil ghira. The fitna of the woman is really in jealousy, that she's very possessive.
Muslim men should beware of multiple wives. Women are jealous and possessive, you see. So it's the woman sharing her husband with other women who's jealous and possessive. And I guess the man who requires more than one wife has no such issues. In fact, the desire for more than one wife doesn't stem from any possible character flaws a man could have that the Sheikh feels are worth mentioning. So the man is in the clear. It's the woman's jealousy that's the problem. It's her character flaws that create the potential for problems the Sheikh is warning us about. Having explained the source of the problem, the Sheikh asks Muslim men to carefully consider if they're qualified.
And there are 3 qualifications. You cannot disregard a single one of them. Number 1, the physical ability. And I want to tell you, they will compete. And you will be drained. I'm telling you out of experience.
I know what you're thinking. Critics of Islam did not pay this guy to say this stuff. They willingly give us this material for free. So here's the problem. Women, jealous and possessive as they are, will compete with their shared husband, leaving him simply exhausted. Now, this problem of stamina is well known in Islamic theology, and Muslim scholars have long addressed it by placing lots of value in the sexual endurance of Muslim men, starting with Muhammad. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Muhammad himself satisfied all of his 9 wives in a single night. It's hard for me to imagine just changing the sheets 9 times in a single night, so I guess I'm not the man that Muhammad was, thankfully. And in another hadith, with the grossest chapter of any book you will ever read, having sexual intercourse and repeating it, and engaging with one's own wives, and taking a single bath after doing so. And here we go again. Muhammad used to have sex with all of his wives in a single night. We used to say he had the strength of 30 men. Wow, I am so impressed. But not all Muslim men have the endurance of their prophet. This is something that the Sheikh wants you to know from personal experience.
I'm telling you out of experience.
So there's reason number 1. Now here's reason Number 2,
the financial ability, and they will compete too. She has that, I want that, she has that. Wallahi, if she is the most righteous, she's going to get that just because she got that.
So not only will you be physically drained, you'll be financially drained as well. So one wife will see that the other has this or that, and she'll want it, and on it goes. Envy is what's being described here. So I'm seeing a trend in the Sheikh's answers. It's the woman's fault, basically. They're jealous, possessive, and now envious. Truly the root of all problems. Here's number 3.
And number 3, which is, in my opinion, the best of them all, or the top of the line, the mental ability. Because I want to tell you, you can easily lose your mind.
So too many women will cause you to lose your mind. He doesn't elaborate here, but we can simply guess that it has something to do with a character flaw of women. Next, here's the closest thing to sane advice that he gives.
Don't demolish an established home to have a second one. Ever, don't do that. You're having a wife, having children, and you know that step will lead to the destruction, the corruption of the first home. Don't do that. We understand that there are certain criteria that you may have to do that. There are certain conditions you may have to do that.
Unfortunately, in Muslim societies, however, these decisions are left entirely up to the man. Women are disadvantaged, and if the man decides he's taking additional wives, then the women are required to accommodate. They don't really have a choice. That's what one of Muhammad's wives did when she feared Muhammad wanted to divorce her. Whether he intended to or not, Muhammad seized on the opportunity to stop sleeping with her and sleep an additional night with his 9-year-old bride named Aisha. These arrangements are always and forever at the discretion of Muslim men, and a Muslim man who follows Muhammad's example is the last person to be trusted for making these decisions. So you think adding an additional wife or wives to the mix might cause some issues? The wives will make do if that's what the man decides, just like Muhammad's wives had to. By the way, this is just one example of tons of infighting within Muhammad's marriages and friction and problems it caused. But that didn't stop him, so why should it stop his male followers? So while the Sheikh's answer doesn't seem as repugnant initially as everything else he says, it is detached from the options Muslim women face in reality. Now here's a final bit of astonishing brilliance from this towering intellectual.
The one message that I want to tell the sisters, you may not like your husband to do that, and you're entitled to that, by the way. You're entitled to that because some of you may not tolerate the fitna, and it's difficult. You're a human and you know your capacity, but don't reject the tashri'ah. That's what I'm asking you as a sister. Don't reject the legislation, because we know from the hadith that time will come when a man will have 50 women.
In short, Muslim women should not reject polygamous arrangements because it's only going to get worse. Muhammad predicted signs of the end times. First, religious knowledge will decrease. Second, religious ignorance will prevail. And the third sign is prevalence of illegal intercourse. And fourth, here it is, 50 women to one man. Let's review the Sheikh's answers. To have multiple wives, Muslim men need to have the physical ability because women are jealous and possessive, and they will compete. Of course, his answers put first the sexual needs of Muslim men, as Islamic authorities have for many centuries. Second, there's the financial ability because women are envious. Then there's the mental ability because women will drive you insane. Next, don't do it if it will destroy existing families. As we said, this initially sounds better than the rest, but it's all left up to the cognizance of Muslim men who follow the Islamic moral code. And lastly, a word to the women, get used to it. It will only get worse for you, or better, I suppose, for the men who are into that sort of thing. Whether it's wife-beating, sex slaves, how women are viewed and treated more generally, or polygamy, these problems with women in Islam are all very clearly the product of a worldview produced by a bunch of depraved men who prized, above all else, their own sexual satisfaction. Admitting this, however, would be an act of apostasy, since it requires repudiating authoritative Islamic sources like the Quran and Hadith. That's a huge step, and many Muslims will choose to turn to their authorities instead, who will continue to defend this stuff. Fortunately, however, these attempts only serve to expose the issues even more. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.